Welcome to Newsround, the programme which brings you up to date with the news and views about aerospace, aviation and defence across the emerging markets of Africa, Arabia and South Asia. I'm Mark Pilling. In business aviation, Alan Peaford reports on the Falcon 10X, the latest and largest bizjet launched by French manufacturer Dassault. Our Indian Ocean correspondent, Anuradha Deenapanray, brings us the latest news on the recovery prospects for the Seychelles, Mauritius, Reunion and Madagascar as they battle the COVID crisis. Then we have a report on an MRO and completion centre as the aftermarket shows signs of growth. All that plus the news headlines from Marcel and Dassault after this message.
Hello, and here are the aviation and defence news headlines from across the Middle East, Africa and South Asia. Egypt has strengthened its defence relationship with France. Earlier this week, it signed a contract to buy an observation satellite and 2 multi-role tanker transport aircraft built by Airbus. Only last week, the country became the operator of the second largest fleet of Rafale fighter jets in the world, just behind France, following an order of more than 30 additional jets for its air force. This order complements the first tranche of 24 Rafales signed 6 years ago, and will bring the number of Rafales flying under the Egyptian colours to 54. With domestic air travel declining sharply in India due to the ongoing surge in COVID cases, the Indian government has decided to retain 80% cap on flights until 31st of May. Domestic fare caps will also remain in force during this period. Domestic flights in India have dipped to about 60%, and average aircraft occupancy has come down to 55 to 60%. Emirates Airline has set up a humanitarian air bridge between Dubai and India to transport urgent medical and relief items to support India in its fight to control the serious COVID-19 situation in the country. Emirates will offer cargo capacity free of charge on an as-available basis on all of its flights to 9 cities in India to help international NGOs deliver relief supplies rapidly to where it is needed. Qatar Airways Cargo sent 3 Boeing 777 freighters carrying a total of 300 tonnes of medical aid from around the world to Mumbai and New Delhi to support the COVID fight. Meanwhile, an Airbus A350 from Germany's Luftwaffe, which typically flies from Germany's top government officials, also completed a special cargo mission to India, flying essential medical aid to the country. Gulf Air and Boeing have also been carrying out humanitarian flights to India. Cue positive aviation news in Saudi Arabia, as Flynas had another busy week for its delivery team in Toulouse as the airline took delivery of 2 brand new A320neo in just 7 days. This brings the Flynas fleet to 31 aircraft, including 15 A320neo. They keep on coming with another already prepared for delivery, as the airline prepares for next week's opening of the international borders. And in Africa, Asman Air is flying again after the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority lifted a suspension order against the carrier Asman Air. Now the airline has issued a corrective plan to address safety matters on its Boeing 737 fleet. With IATA reporting Middle Eastern Airlines demand falling 81.6% in March compared to March in 2019, with load factor declining to 41.3%, and African Airlines traffic sinking 73.7% in the same period, it could herald a gloomy outlook for manufacturers and the aftermarket. But consulting firm Accenture has just released its civil aviation forecasts, and we asked the head of the Aerospace division, John Schmidt, about his thoughts on the emerging markets.
If I look at what's going on in those regions, certainly there's a lot of interest in growing the aerospace company components of what is done in those spaces. I mean, India itself, let's just take that as a market, is a huge future market for commercial airlines, and the manufacturers want to be in that market and a part of it. So you're gonna see, I think, more investment and continued investment in commercial aerospace in India. The Middle East has a indigenous, if you will, aerospace industry already, and one that sources into Boeing and Airbus, amongst others. So I think you're going to see continued growth there. The question is, what's that pace going to be? And having come through the pandemic, and with our expectations, anyways, that passenger traffic is going to be returning to pre-COVID levels somewhere in 2 to 3 years from now. it may be slower than what we might have expected before the pandemic.
Well, how we get to that recovery is on the agenda for AFRA, the African Airlines Association, which with host Ethiopian Airlines will stage the 9th Aviation Stakeholders Convention from the 18th to the 19th of May. The event will be held in a virtual format under the theme Building Blocks for Air Transport Industry Recovery. Kenya could soon be challenging Rwanda and Ghana for leading the future of aviation push, following agreement between Kenya Airways and UK advanced air mobility company Skyports. Skyports has been developing and operating landing infrastructure for the electric air taxi revolution, as well as operating cargo drone deliveries for Britain's National Health Service. It is now teaming up with the Kenyan national carrier to support the airline's diversification plans into drone and other advanced aviation technologies. And finally, as we dream about returning to long-haul travel, here's something to whet your appetite from Qatar Airways. The Gulf carrier will be introducing a new business class seat to its lineup. The new seat will be fitted on Qatar's Boeing 787-9s, which are due to make their debut later this year. And I wouldn't mind that at all. Well, it's back to you, Mark.
Thanks, Ella. That sounds pretty classy. And in our next story, let's go from a great business class experience to a whole new business aircraft experience. One of the hottest topics for business aviation lately has been ultra long-range jets, with Bombardier's Global 7500 already operating and Gulfstream preparing to bring its G700 into service next year. Now, there's a new kid on the block. Over to you, Alan, for news of Dassault's new baby.
All right, cheers, Mark. Well, for Dassault Aviation's CEO, Eric Trappier, it has been more like babies. At the start of last week, he was celebrating the early steps of the toddler, the Falcon 6X, when the second test model made its first flight at Mérignac, just a couple of weeks after the very first flight. But you're right, it was the newborn that was capturing all the oohs and ahs last week. Like a proud father, Monsieur Trappier announced to a digital audience around the world that the newborn was here and it has a name.
Yes, up to today, the name was the NX, was a coded name, and I am quite happy to announce you that the new Falcon is going to be the Falcon 10X.
And like you said, Mark, this is not an unexpected reaction to the presence of the Gulfstream G700 and Bombardier's Global 7500. Dassault has bided its time, but this 10X is sensational. It's due to enter service in 2025, and the Falcon 10X is powered by two Rolls-Royce Pearl engines. It will have 7,500 nautical mile range, and the cabin cross-section is larger than some regional jets. Certainly, it appears to have the most spacious cabin of any purpose-built business jet. The range of all three of these ultra-large, ultra-long range are in the same ballpark, and will get the VIP or corporate giants anywhere in the world in a single hop. And certainly from Paris, where the reveal took place, you could fly non-stop to West Coast Australia, to Anchorage, to Chile, or to Tokyo, and it would be in amazing comfort. The 10X is a clean sheet design with a whole new wing. It will fly at 51,000 feet at Mach 0.925, just short of the speed of sound. So what does $75 million get you? Well, for 15-hour flights, size really does matter. The 10X has got a cabin height of just over 2 metres and a width of 2.77 metres. It's almost 20 centimetres wider and 2 centimetres taller than the widest and tallest purpose-built jet flying today. Well, that's according to Dassault's Executive Vice President, Carlos Brana.
That's right, Miles. Actually, the standard configuration of the aircraft is provided with a 4-lounge cabin. But just by moving the dividers in each cabin, you can either shrink or extend the length of the cabins, of the sections of the cabins. So even you can cancel one room and say, okay, we have a 3-lounge cabin. It will all depend on the needs of the customers, and of course, we will adapt to what better fits their needs.
Well, from a range of bedroom options and ensuite bathrooms through to the love seat dining option, and importantly, seats that you can get in and out of without disturbing your fellow passengers. The space really works. I love the idea of the luxury home-style kitchen rather than a galley. so you can gather around it, just like you do at parties at home. But it's not just the folk at the back that Dassault's thought about. The men and the women at the front on those long-haul flights. They're in there too. We're working with Stelia. They have come up with a lie-flat reclining bed while you're flying to give the non-flying pilot a useful rest space during cruise. The technology, much of it derived from the Rafale fighter jet, includes a single lever throttle, and for the first time in the civil aviation, the pilots can simply press a button if they are disoriented or in case of wake turbulence. The aircraft then automatically recovers to a safe altitude and speed. This revolutionary feature is a direct transfer of technology from the Rafale. Well, Rolls-Royce, of course, gets its first outing on a Dassault business jet with the Pearl 10X. It's going to deliver 18,000 pounds of thrust and has been designed to fly on 100% sustainable aviation jet fuel. So, Mark, an absolute gem of a new contender, and I for one am looking forward to the day when we can genuinely draw comparisons between these three ultra fantastic competing aircraft.
But seriously, Alan, isn't 3 competing models in a very limited market overkill?
Well, all 3 of these OEMs have very smart people working for them, and I think we're going to see a continued growth in that sector. New models tend to stimulate growth, and I think there's going to be quite some interest, particularly in our Middle East markets. I think that Dassault's engineering strengths, plus that combination of cabin size, performance and technology, could open many new doors to the discerning buyers.
Thank you, Alan. We look forward to hearing more about the 10X in the coming months. Now, one part of the African aviation scene that's really is its own special market is the Vanilla Islands. And that's the group of islands off the coast of continental Africa, including the Seychelles, Mauritius, Madagascar and Réunion. These countries rely on tourism for much of their income. And not surprisingly, the pandemic has really hit them badly. So, to find out how they're faring, we're going to go across to our Indian Ocean correspondent, Anuradha Deenapanray, to find out about the challenges they face.
Yeah, hello, Mark. Yeah, it's true that Indian Ocean islands, they are quite in a particular position, because it's true that air transport airlines are impacted globally. And these islands have finally realized that it's very important to cooperate, to bring their efforts together instead of putting forth their specificities, which can be also a strength, and therefore they have to work together.
Okay, let's start with Air Seychelles. They were working with Abu Dhabi's Etihad, but that has all broken up now, hasn't it?
What's important is that we learned that Air Seychelles will be soon a fully state-owned airline. That is, since 2012, Etihad had 40% of the capital of Air Seychelles. And according to the State Secretary for Finance, Patrick Payet, he said that the country has got a very good deal with Etihad and got a discount of 79% from Etihad on the total debt of the airline. And that's something very important. And the repayment is going to start as from 2022. And he also said, that's very important, that there are discussions with the Trade Development Bank, an African bank, for loan and for debt servicing due very, very soon.
So, what does it look like for the Seychelles?
The Seychelles have really been a success story in the Indian Ocean. Air Seychelles was the first airline to really start its operation. And Seychelles was the first airport in the Indian Ocean to reopen its borders after pioneering an efficient vaccination campaign with the Pfizer vaccine. And it has welcomed the first batch of travelers coming from Israel, because Israel, as you know, has been a pioneer globally. And that was very important because the airline also introduced a preferential entry fee for all those who got vaccinated.
Well, that's encouraging. Now, Anuradha, your home ground of Mauritius, that's not so good.
Mauritius, which has played a very important role in the intra-regional connectivity and as a contributor to the GDP of Mauritius and to the development of the region, has been placed under financial administration a year back, and it was followed by massive job cuts, a new route plan, a new strategy was they were trying to get in place a new strategy, and that's a bit unfortunate because the airline had a very good fleet renewal plan with the new A330neo and also the A350 Airbus aircraft. And when we talked to the administrator, Mr. Abdullah from Grant Thornton, Mauritius, he confirmed that Grant Thornton, Mauritius is going to meet with the creditors and they are going to have a watershed-based plan to look into the future of the airline. And he also underlined that it's very important that Mauritius reopens its borders, because then they are going to be able to have more visibility on the future of the airline, and also because they have also seen that there is a need to slash the unprofitable routes that are going to be one of the main components of the meeting with the creditors. And it should be noted also, Mark, that Mumbai, Kuala Lumpur, Paris, London will remain the main hubs of the Mauritian airline, and that daily flights to Reunion Island and Rodrigues, which is part of the Mauritian territory, are going to be maintained, and Beijing and Shanghai are also going to remain its strategic routes.
Okay, now you mentioned Réunion, and it looks like there's been a bit of a flurry of activity there, with Austral likely to take its A220s soon.
We just earlier talked to Marie-Joseph Mallet, who confirmed that the two A220s that they were supposed to get delivery, they are not going to, it has been rescheduled. They don't know the exact date for the time being, because of the pandemic. So they are working with their financial partner and Airbus to get these two Airbuses within their fleet, because they started before the outbreak of the pandemic. They started a renewal of their fleet because they want to strengthen the intra-regional connectivity.
Last year, Austral pulled out of the joint deal with Air Madagascar as the Malagasy government wanted to take control of its airline's future and destiny. How is that working out?
Within the Indian Ocean, it's the airline which is going under the biggest pressure, financial and refleet, destination-wise. It's in a very hard period, now they are trying to think how they can restart operations, because there's another problem, is that the airport is really old. So there is a synergy being played between the airport and the airline, so that they can restart on really very strong basis.
Thanks, Anuradha. Clearly a tough situation in these countries, and it looks like it will take some years for them to recover. But one sector of the market that is already recovering is the MRO and completion sector. And that was demonstrated with the opening of a fifth hangar by AMAC Aerospace at its Basle HQ. AMAC is well known for its work with head of state and VIP aircraft across the Middle East, as our MRO editor Chuck Grieve reports.
AMAC is synonymous with VIP completions, as well as line and base maintenance programs on a variety of types. It operates from bases in Switzerland, France, Turkey, and Lebanon, and has just opened a fifth hangar and apron at its home station, Euro Airport in Basel, Switzerland. Waleed, I understand Hangar 5 was built, equipped, and welcoming its first clients in less than a year. Now that's quick by anybody's standards.
It is. Hangar 5 development was a reaction based on the market environments that we saw coming up. But Hangar 5 also extends to more or less the whole mid-size category of aircraft that are based in Europe. Generally speaking, MROs are far and few between. Slots are becoming more and more in demand. Therefore, to be able to counter the market environment by taking a forward step ahead allows us to be able to serve more clients with the quality and due diligence that we offer here in Basel.
Well, yes, obviously there was a demand for the additional facilities. It has taken you no time to fill the 7 new bays, hasn't it?
That's right. I mean, we've got a variety of mid-sized jets at our facility. We were pragmatic and proactive in being able to plan these aircraft to arrive. The construction time was slightly delayed due to the pandemic going on right now, but we were well versed. We've worked with the same architects that have helped us develop our facility here in Basel, and this was instructed and positioned from our executive management that saw that it was the right time in being able to position the last of our hangars here in Basel. With regard to Basel Airport, with the territory that we've got, we've reached saturation point. So Hangar 5 is the last of the 5 hangars that we've got, but doesn't stop us as a group of companies in being able to explore other territories, other areas, and other capability services that we can offer our existing and potential new clients.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you very much. A full interview with AMAC's chairman and CEO, Qadri Muhiddin, and more from Waleed Muhiddin about the plans and progress of the MRO business will be published on our Times Aerospace YouTube channel next week. So yes, do look out for that. There are some real, it's amazing, there are some real face-to-face events taking place over the next few weeks with the Arabian travel market and the airport show in Dubai. And of course, there's that AFRA stakeholders conference online. So that's it from Marcella and me. Until the next time, stay safe and thank you for watching.
How do we achieve ultimate defense interoperability? Inspired by Vision 2030, we are introducing the first of its kind, the World Defense Show. Integrating land, air, sea, satellite, and security.